Characters from the beloved children's book The Little Prince by French writer Antoine de Saint-Exupéry are coming to life right here in Singapore. 14 life-sized hand-painted sculptures depicting major characters from the book are on display at Fullerton Hotel. It's part of the Voila French Festival Singapore that's on till the 21st of June. It's the first time the sculptures are being shown here. Also on display for the first time in Singapore, manuscripts and letters from the private collection of the Antoine de Saint-Exupéry Youth Foundation. At another Voila Festival event today, students got to hear about space science from 2 French astronauts from the European Space Agency. The astronauts were part of major space missions. One spoke of her experience as the first female European astronaut to work and live on the International Space Station. The event was organized by the Singapore Science Centre and the French Institute in Singapore. Here with me tonight is the French ambassador to Singapore, Benjamin Dubertret. Welcome, Benjamin.
Good evening. Thank you.
Benjamin, tell me, there are such diverse elements in this year's Voila Festival. There's space exploration and then there's a children's classic. How were they chosen?
Well, I suppose basically this new edition of Voila, its name maybe some of Singaporeans are familiar with previous editions, but we decided to take a new start and to relaunch this festival with a set of about 40 events, a little more than that, spanning 7 weeks, and as you said, with great diversity. So I suppose the aims were twofold: maximum diversity, culture understood in a very broad sense, but at the same time preserving the accessibility for the public, making sure culture is not just about elitism and so on. So we have 2 main threads for this festival. There's the environment, protection of the planet, and quite a few events will be relating to that. And also, as you mentioned, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, his legacy, his work, and in particular The Little Prince.
Let's talk a little bit more about The Little Prince. It's very well known, isn't it? And many of us have read it. Why do you think it resonates so much with readers around the world? And at the same time, what about it is so French?
Well, I suppose, as you said, it's a very famous book. I think after the Bible is probably the book that has been most translated, throughout the world. I suppose, I wouldn't say it's quintessentially French. Mainly, I would say it appeals to so many people because it appeals to the child in every one of us. It talks about very universal things, about love, about friendship, about discovering new mysteries. So I believe that's why it appeals to so many people and touches the hearts and minds of the people. Right. Much more than sort of showcasing something about French culture.
Right, I know something else that touches in the mind of people, and that's food. And it's something that both France and Singapore share a love of. Tell us more about the food in general.
Well, I suppose you're right. I mean, food is a wonderfully direct approach to a different culture, and definitely food is an integral part of this new Voila edition. So that's a big part of it, actually. We've got 65 F&B partners taking part in this. So there'll be restaurants, bars, retail shops, bakeries, and so on, wine shops as well. And to help discover a bit more about French food, it's not only about haute cuisine, gastronomy in the sort of, again, elitist sense. It's giving access, making people more familiar with certain aspects that are more leisurely, more casual in French food. So again, there's this idea of accessibility and, appealing and reaching out to people.
Okay. Now, as I understand, Voila will be an annual affair starting from this year. Why the change?
Well, as you said, we mentioned that there were some previous editions. I started in 2007, and probably we didn't enjoy at that time the maturity on both sides to make sure it would be a yearly success. This time I think we're confident because the people-to-people exchanges have been growing between our 2 countries so much. And we have such a wonderful occasion this year because 2015, of course, is not only Singapore's Golden Jubilee, it's also the 50th anniversary of our diplomatic ties, as France was among the first countries to recognize Singapore as an independent country. It was actually the first European country to do so. So definitely it's a wonderful occasion to do that, especially as at the same time in France you have a Singapore Festival in France, as it is called, which is up and running until the end of June, I believe, with a very impressive set of events throughout, not only in Paris, but in 7 different cities, so reaching out to the regions. And then, of course, we have President Tan's state visit coming up very soon in May.
Yes.
So that, again, is a very major milestone in the relationship. So I believe, yeah, there was this understanding that it was right now, the right time to make it a yearly event. And probably that now we can have more ambition to, in terms of, in the longer run, making Voila not only a platform to sort of export French culture to Singapore, which is already something, but something better than that would be to have a two-way platform by which we can have more co-productions, cultural co-productions between France and Singapore, and also showcasing that back in France.
Now, you mentioned a lot about people exchanges and this dual platform. If I may take it to a personal level, what would you want Singaporeans to take away from France if there was just one thing?
It would be very pretentious of me to say this is the thing you should take away. No, I think it's up to everyone to decide. And again, there's this idea of diversity. There'll be some sports, science, as you mentioned, with the conference on space exploration we just had today, and also sculptures about the Little Prince, conferences and so on. So it's for each and everyone to decide and to discover, so to speak, their inner French.
And on the flip side, what is your favorite part about Singapore, if I may?
I suppose I would say it's this truly unique and harmonious mix of cultures. That's really so typical of Singapore. I've not seen anything quite like that elsewhere in Asia, or actually elsewhere in the world.
All right, thank you very much for coming into our studio, Benjamin.
Thank you.
I've been speaking to Benjamin Dubertret, on Singapore Tonight.